Hitch is in the house. Good to see you.
Good to see you too, Greg. Hey, thanks for joining us to do this overview of Module 1, Chapters 1 and 11.
Yeah, so give us some background here. Tell us kind of where we've been and maybe a little bit of where we're going. We'll sort of chip away and maybe set the stage for our folks who are going to walk through the class.
Yes, hopefully you're kind of listening to this before you get into the chapters too deep. And I think if you look at it, that's not a typo. We're doing Chapter 1 and Chapter 11 in the same module. Timing of that was that, Chapter 1 kind of gives you a little idea of what Quality Schools is all about and what Glasser was working with. But some of it's dated. They talk about dittos. They talk about, hands. There's some real dated stuff in there. But when you get to 11, Chapter 11 kind of gets into the making of a quality school. And I think you'll get an idea of what we went through back in the 90s, 1990, back last century, when we actually started this work in here too.
Yeah, I got to admit, you probably can't see it, but I've got this collage of pictures over here that I keep in my office, and I just had to look at it this morning, and it's 1995. So that dates us, dude.
I think I had more hair. You had a little more hair yourself at that point. It's been a while.
It's been a while, but I get the 1 and 11 because I think I think the 11 gets a little more nuts and bolts, and just talking about the concept of quality. It's a good place to start.
I liked it. In Chapter 1, you really do get a feeling for where Glasser was coming from when he was bringing in Dr. Deming's side of things there too. And, Deming's concepts really are central to what goes on here in this whole process. The reduction of coercion, making a non-coercive environment so that you can make better decisions, being driven toward quality, know what quality is. Big stuff.
Yeah. And, I think he touches on self-evaluation, which is, clearly one of the motivating factors, and needs-based environment. But let's just quickly touch on context here. So going back a little bit of history, really. So this was a big pivot for Placer Union High School District. Who were the players in the early pivot?
Yeah, so in 1991, I believe, is when we started to look at this. We had a relatively new superintendent, Dr. Olson, who came in and was really interested in finding out what was going on. And we were all, as young teachers at that point, handed a book and said, "Hey, we want you guys to do a book study of this, read through it." And there's the book.
There it is.
Cool.
Yeah.
And we all kind of went, "Oh boy, here we go. Something new, something different, but it'll be gone next week," kind of thing. The flavor of the month. So anyhow, we did the work, and Dr. Olson and Bart O'Brien, who was also very instrumental at making a lot of this stuff happen as assistant superintendent, stepped in and really built this process and allowed mentor teachers and others to become part of it. They kind of spread this out in a very tactful way. And you got to give a lot of credit to the school board for sticking with it and working with it over the years too. So we really went from 1991 to about 2007, where we had quality schools training across the district for anybody who wanted, and others who were encouraged to be involved there too.
Yeah. I mean, both you and I came in after that shift had begun. And I think what we didn't realize is back in the 80s, and now we're talking ancient history to a lot of these new teachers, but very different culture in the district. I think it's safe to say. And so this book really is a culture book. It talks about how we treat one another, how we treat our students, how we ultimately allow our students to kind of evaluate their work, their quality, and hopefully get quality out of them. So, I just felt like all along, and people have left the district and come back and said, there is something different. There's something that's kind of in the DNA at Placer Union High School District, and I think this book had a big part of it. Obviously, great people, and there are great people in every district, but there is something that threads through the whole culture here, and I think a lot of it has to do with Glasser's thinking. May the man rest in peace. He did die a few years ago, but his thoughts as a psychologist were pretty powerful. And you're right. We got in on the training, and so this is an effort. I think this course, is it not, to kind of resurrect some of the formality there, so that we can kind of keep it alive for future, new members of the PUHSD family.
Well, again, Glasser's work, particularly the idea, what he talks about in the book of control theory, is actually what we now term choice theory. It's the foundation for what really is the difference between stimulus response and being able to identify that we do things by choice. And then we also have the tool of reality therapy that allows us to work and use that to work through these things too. And all these things became the actual pieces that we'll learn more about as we get into the book here too. But they still relate quite well, I think, to the things that we have to deal with as we start to move forward in the next few years, what we're going through now.
Yep. And I think like we chatted about this a little bit earlier, but I think what's cool is bringing this to a new group of minds, new energy to the district. And so we're excited about the new teachers putting their own twist on this, because it's certainly not about the old dogs here. This has got to be taken forward and maintained if it's going to be something that's going to continue to have an impact.
Well, absolutely.
Yeah.
And you mentioned what's things that people have come back to are difference in the district. And one of them is we know the importance at each site of building relationships. That's the key to being key to effective teaching, and key to really it's woven into the fabric of each of our schools and the district level, into the culture that we've actually have there too. And I think that's something that we can attribute right to Quality Schools and Glasser's work there too.
Yep. Hey, this has been fun, Rob. I think speaking of relationships, I've really enjoyed working with you all these years, and so it'll be great, because we'll get some new voices involved and build some relationships over this book study. And thanks for putting it together.
Well, it's my pleasure. And again, thanks to those who are out there doing it, being part of this. We again, you guys are really, everybody's welcome to be involved in this, and we appreciate your feedback on it too. So, and thank you, Greg, for helping out.
Absolutely. Have a good one.
Take care.